Well, I did college and then we did a showcase in the city, um, and right before we graduated, and I got my agent from that, and
That was huge.
yeah, it was big. I mean, a lot of people didn't, and I'm lucky enough to have the right sort of look,
Hmm.
and to be a tenor and to be a straight guy in musical theater. To be
That's
honest.
right. It's a minority. It's helpful to
Yeah,
be.
well, yeah, it does help. At least in the beginning, and
Yeah.
so I got the agent, and you know, I booked a couple things. I booked a SVU episode pretty early on.
Right. You did. Well,
Um,
that's a legally, contractually obliged to do.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. I booked a national tour of Whistle Down the Wind, like my third week in the city.
I like
Uh,
that one song a lot.
but I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't. This is how green I was. I went in not expecting to get it,
Mhm.
and I just moved into my new apartment. It was like a year tour. I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I was like, I gotta get the experience. I gotta meet the casting directors. I got cast, and it turns out the rehearsal started the next day. And I said, well, no, I don't want to do it. And
They were like,
I think
what?
I got blacklisted from Stuart Howard's office for a while, and not until a director had requested me had they cast me after that, and then they put me in West Side Story. So
Now
we're
you're all
fine.
best friends now.
We're fine now. But as a green young actor, they're like, okay, you got this tour. You're gonna be gone for a year. I was like, but I want to be in New York. I don't want to leave. Wait, I have to do. It was pretty rough, but and then I catered for a while,
Mhm.
which was soul sucking. I mean, literally. I mean, nothing will make you feel less of a human being than passing out
Knaps.
food to people who look straight through you and only see what you're holding in your hand.
Mhm.
I had no personality, and and then I waited for a while, which was a little better, but it's a cutthroat business.
Yeah.
Waiting tables, and I wasn't enjoying being bossed around all the time. I don't take to authority very well.
Just like Jack and
Just like
Clyde.
Jack and Clyde. That's pretty much my biggest connection with the two of them. I'm not very good. I've been pulled over a few times, and I'm not
That's not
the
good.
kind of guy to sweet talk my way out of it. I'm the kind of guy who just was like, okay, all right, don't yell at him. Okay, don't yell. Okay.
The more you do, the more jerky they get. What was so? How do you work with Jeff and other directors? How do you find that happy point there?
I've worked with some really fantastic directors. Professionally, I've worked with Jeff and with Jeff Calhoun and Rob Ruggiero, who cast me in my first two professional gigs. He cast me in The Little Dog Laughed,
Little Laughed, yeah.
at Hartford Theater Works, and then in Big River at Goodspeed. I mean, he really took a big step, a big chance in putting me in his shows, and had a lot of faith in me, and taught me a lot about discovering characters. And so, I owe a lot to him.
How did you find out how a director could help you by telling you what to do or working with you? What that process?
Yeah, Rob is more of an actor director. Like, he really finds motivations, and he really finds the technical side of it. And Jeff is the opposite. He's an outside in guy. He's like he's more of like a feeling, an emotion, and finding your way, and then throwing in the little technical things at the end. And it's been great. Sort of, it was a great progression for me, because as a fresh out of college, I was really technical about everything, and so Rob kind of appealed to that in me. And as I've grown into myself as an actor and found my own sort of way of approaching things, by the time I got to Jeff is much more free and lets you sort of do your own thing, and then he'll put you into this little, he'll sort of mold you, but you get your generic shape. And so I had enough experience under my belt to where I could really dig in and find what I thought was right, and then he would fine tune it.
Was there some detail or something you found for Clyde, or something that you're like, yes, this is what I need, or this is what some little key into him, or something that you really?
Well, I think the key to Clyde is just knowing, is not looking back. Clyde is always looking forward. He's always looking to the future. He's always sort of attuned to what's next and what the next triumph is going to be, and how he's going to move up from where he is. And as long as I kind of hone in on that, I can always that's what sort of helps me drive him. I mean, he wants to get out of where he comes from. He wants to get out of this small town. And then, he finds Bonnie and wants to get her to where she wants to be. And then, he's got a little bit of money. He needs to get more so he can buy the best suits. He wants to get the best guns. And, that ultimately leads them down the path of destruction, because there's a point where he can't get any bigger.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he did, they would find him. He's literally on the run. And once somebody found him, he's dead. Or he's in prison for life, or he gets the chair, which by the end, he certainly would have gotten.
Is it just like a weird adrenaline high when you're doing press nights? Is it just like, I mean, you must have to like pull yourself back while you're performing. I mean, like, it's just got to be hard. Those 3 nights, you must get so keyed up for them.
Yeah, press nights are intimidating at first, but then you kind of get into a groove,
mm-hmm.
and you're like, okay, all right, and you kind of, and it actually by the end of press nights, I feel great, because in explaining my character to people and explaining the process and explaining the show, it gets me, one, more excited, and two, sometimes I find new things. I'm like, oh, I never thought about that way, or I never quite analyzed that aspect, and now I want to really think about that, or I really want to delve into that some more, especially at the beginning of a process.
I meant like the critics' nights where you're there and you're like, here we go.
That's not what you meant. You let me go through that whole thing.
Well, it was interesting.
Well, a lot of people don't like to know when critics are coming, but I do. I mean, it pumps me up.
Yeah.
It does. I mean, it's like when your family's there, you're like excited to perform for them. You're like excited to make them proud, and you're excited to show them this thing that you've been working on forever. And it's the same thing with critics. I mean, they might not like it, but it still brings out that sort of excitement to share with people that matter.
Mm-hmm.
And they shouldn't matter, but they ultimately do, especially in commercial theater.
So this show, I mean, like Newsies, you had people were fanatic for that movie, obviously, including music. And this show is like people are pushing the actors out, like, where's Frank Wildhorn? I mean, he has some hardcore fans.
Yeah,
it's got a great base.
There's a great difference between this and Newsies. And Newsies was such an underdog. It was a big flop. A lot of people loved it, but a lot of people didn't know it, or a lot of people were like, really, that movie? You're going to try to do that in a musical? So we came in as an underdog, and then it was just smash, surprise success, and then everybody wanted to see it, and everybody loved it. And with this, it does at times feel like an uphill battle, but the best weapon in an uphill battle is a good, strong, well-written weapon, and I think we have that.